Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. Wishing everybody a happy holidays, whether that means you are celebrating Christmas today, been celebrating Hanukkah throughout the week, if you've been celebrating Kwanzaa, Festivus, or any other holiday across the globe. Happy holidays to everybody. I've been in and out of this channel for a little bit. Couple of different reasons why. A lot of work going on, but also I have a lot of albums that I have to still listen to before January 1st. Luckily, this is the week that my podcasts take a little bit of a break, so I'm able to get back into listening to a bunch of CDs. I have about 40 that I've been planning to listen to before the end of the year, and I'm basically halfway done right now. I know, it's crazy. I am excited to get through the rest of them, and the plan for between now and I want to say like January 15th is I still have 14 more albums I want to talk about from the year. Some good, some bad, some that will probably make my top 50, some that are maybe some of the worst albums of the year. But since, where the decade is coming to a close very soon, I want to get all these thoughts out before I unveil my top 50 and my honorable mentions. So keep an eye out for these. The plan is to get all 14 of these album reviews done by January 15th, and in the meantime work on my list and finalize it so by January 15th I can start dropping the videos for that. Thank you so much for being patient. I know that I've been promising a lot of videos. I just needed the time to get all of this done, but then once that is done, a huge weight is lifted off of my back, though only slightly because I still have my top 100 for the decade to get done, and then a couple of other projects that I'm trying to get done with a few people. That being said, I am back with another Are You In? And tonight we are taking a look at the newest Electric Yes album entitled Kin. Now, Electric Yes is an indie pop / indie rock / indie electronic rock band from Los Angeles, California. Members including Asa Taccone on vocals and instrumentals, Matthew Cornbread Compton on drums, Luke Top on bass guitar, and Reese Richardson on guitar and keyboard. Their previous albums include Mondo in 2012 and Plural in 2017. I absolutely adore this indie band. This is one of my favorite indie bands going, though their style has changed from over the years. My first introduction to this band, like a lot of other people, was the song This Head I Hold from their debut album. One of my roommates in college showed me it, and I absolutely adored it. And then I checked out the whole entire album and still love it to this day. What I love about this album is that it is so rich and diverse throughout the whole entire thing. You get some more complex arrangements like Awake and Trouble Man, but you also get some more energetic and simplistic and just really groovy songs like This Head I Hold, Under the Gun, Amber, and The Bait, amongst others. This album is so diverse in sound, and it's just a blast to listen to. It's not honestly that long. It's still one of my favorite albums of 2012, and it's definitely going to be in my top 100, spoiler alert. The weird thing about this band is that it didn't have a lot of publicity up until recently, and because of that, whenever an album of theirs drops, I'm always taken aback because I have no idea. For example, the only reason why I knew that Plural dropped is because I really wanted to listen to Electric Yes during one day, looked out Mondo, and found that there was another whole album that they dropped unexpectedly. Now, Plural's a little bit different. It definitely has more of a mainstream vibe with songs like Oh Devil, Dear to Me, and Back to Me. But there's also still a lot of that diversity. There's still some complex arrangements like Zero and Back and Forth, but there's also some very beautiful moments like See the Light. Overall, it's still a very solid album, and there are even some songs that at first I did not like Bound to Lose, that I've grown to like a little bit more. Is it as good as Mondo in my opinion? No, but an album that I once did not like has become one of my favorite albums of 2017. I believe it was in my top 20 somewhere. And now here we go again with Kin. I did not know that this album had dropped at all. I only found out because when I was hanging out with my old acapella friends, I asked some of them, what were some of your favorite albums of 2019 that I should listen to? And without missing a beat, my friend Josh, who has been on this channel before, done some album reviews, has been with me on some top 10 videos, just said Kin from Electric Yes. and my mind was completely blown. First off, I did not know he was a fan of that band, and second, I had no idea this album had dropped. So immediately I had to check it out, and by immediately I mean 2 months ago, and have yet to put out the album review. But here it is, as planned. From the get-go, you're still getting a lot of what Plural was made up of. A little bit more mainstream ideas, a little bit more indie pop elements. However, there's still a lot of really solid songs at the beginning. The first 5 songs are some of my favorite on the album. Dollar, with its just beautiful laid-back vibe that feels a little bit like it could have been a Justin Timberlake song. Asa does phenomenal on the vocals. As you watch throughout his career, he's become more of the frontman that we were wanting on Mondo. Mondo is great, but there are some times where Asa gets a little bit buried behind what is around him. Now he's the forefront. He has a phenomenal voice. He uses a lot of falsetto, and it's really solid falsetto. You hear it a lot on Zero, and this is the perfect culmination of what he's been doing. I love the laid-back vibe. I love the jazzy chord progression. I love the mixture of horn parts that come into there to give the song a little bit more depth. Moving on, we get One For Me, which is this really funky song that could have fit perfectly in the 70s, like a discotheque. I really enjoyed this vibe, and I love the string and sax interludes that give some more depth to the arrangement. This one shows a little bit more of Asa's lower voice, and it still is just as solid as his falsetto. 24/7 is probably the worst of the 5 in my opinion, but I do like this laid-back approach, this very schmaltzy, kind of cheesy song. Again, they could have fit perfectly as a Justin Timberlake song. I really enjoy the pitching of vocals, which is the only time on this album that I really do enjoy the pitching. I think it adds a little bit more character to what is going on. More is this kind of Motown sound. It's not super original. I've heard it before on other current pop songs, this reimagining of Motown, but it's still fun, and Asa does enough with the vocals to make it stand out. And then finally, on the last of these 5 songs, you have Freestyle, which at first I did not like, but it's become one of my favorites because it's just really catchy. I love the energy, the layering, and the pacing. Most of the song is minimal, but the layering upon everything does make it stand out a little bit more as the song goes on. I also really enjoy the flow of Asa's lyrics and melody. It doesn't do a lot, but it does enough to stand out. So from the get-go, you get a really solid album, but then the problems arise. The biggest problem to me with this album is the lack of diversity. A lot of this album, if you were to take song by song, is fine. I think Birthday is a lot of fun with the vocal layerings and the chorus. I like the string parts at the beginning, and the drum machine throughout is really solid, though the song takes a little bit of a left turn at the end when it slows down before getting to Max It Out, which is another really solid song. One of the only songs that does kind of break the vibe of what is going around. It's a little bit slower, it's a little bit more atmospheric. It's not the best song, but it's really needed on this album. The only problem is that these 2 are the last 2 songs on the album, and Max It Out is the closer. That much needed diversity is unfortunately wasted at the end because most of this album sounds very similar in vibe. It's not that these songs are bad, it's just there isn't a change of pace, and that becomes a problem. I Got the Money is pretty fun, but when it's right next to Freestyle, it's very similar. It's very similar in the take. It's very similar in the fast approach of lyrics. The I Got the Money part with the vocal changes, it's not as grating as some of the other ones, but it doesn't necessarily save this song. And again, it just feels like an afterthought compared to what everything else is going on. Basic is pretty basic. The chorus with this auto-tune is hugely annoying. And there are some interesting parts, especially the "Ooh, no, you're not the one that I thought you were." That's solid on the post-chorus, but the verses are bland and the chorus is really grating. Get Out also suffers from feeling a little bit too similar, though the outro vocals are solid. Play With Me is a solid single on its own, but the problem there is it feels a little bit too similar to everything else that's going on. For being the 9th song on the album, what could have been a standout song becomes one that is a little bit hard to listen to. Also, another song where it gets a little bit diminished by these really weird auto-tune vocals. And if I'm going to nitpick for a minute, as much as I love Dollar, there is a little bit of auto-tune stuff at the end that just doesn't work for me. It doesn't break the flow of the song because it is just on the end. And the song itself is such a solid song that it doesn't bother me that much. But if I'm going to nitpick, that shouldn't necessarily have been there in my opinion as well. Overall, this album is really solid at points, but the problem is that there's not enough diversity to keep you interested throughout the album. I think if you were to pick and choose between songs, I don't think you would find a lot of bad songs. To me, the only real lackluster songs on this album are Basic and Get Out. Though even still in those cases, there are some parts that are very catchy. I think the problem with them going a little bit too mainstream is they kind of forgot where they had come from. I'm totally fine with this mainstream approach if there was a little bit more interesting layering, some more interesting ideas, and a little bit more complex arrangements. You could make these songs still work very well with the complexity. Back and Forth, for example, has a great vibe, feels pretty mainstream, but it has a lot of solid layering that makes it stand out more than just a simple song. I still think this is worth a full listen. There is so much on here that I do enjoy, and if I come back to it in bits and pieces, I think I can get through the whole entire album. And honestly, it's not a long album either. I think it's clocks in under 40 minutes. But still, I don't think you're getting a lot of substance behind this. I think the other two albums are much better in my opinion. If I'm going to pick the one where it does the best, I think Mondo is still best. Though the mixture of mainstream and complexity on Plural is also really solid. And who knows, I didn't really like Plural at the beginning, so I might come back and really enjoy a lot of this album. But I don't see it happening because so many of these feel very similar, and that becomes an issue in my book. Sorry, Josh. I appreciate the recommendation, but I'm going to disagree a little bit with you. But who knows? Maybe you can sway me if we meet up and do a top 10 list this year as well as we've done in the past. Who knows? I got some time to mull this album over. It probably will be my top 50, but I don't see it becoming more than that. Anyways, that is my time. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like or hate this album and your reasons why. So usually at this point I'll say, let me know other albums from 2019 you'd like me to review, but unfortunately I'm done with recommendations. But something else that you can do for me, if you would like, is please let me know other albums from 2019 you would like me to listen to. Because I have an idea of what albums I want to listen to by the end of this year, which is going to be my cutoff point for recommendations. But if you have something that you truly think I should listen to, let me know in the comments. I would love any recommendations. Share this with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel. That way I know that you enjoy what I'm doing and want to see this channel become bigger and better for the future. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow with another Are You In? Happy holidays, everyone. This is The Music Fan, and I'm signing off.